So that's the thing. Is anyone notice, like the sky going, the sun being a little bit lower, all those real subtle sensations that mean fall's coming? Can you, like they're like, there's the way it's, hey, it looks like I'm wearing a white hat right now. Gotta figure this out. Um, there are all these little sensations, the smell in the air. Do you know that leaves are actually an expression of the tree's sugar? And so when the leaves start to like go towards fall, they're withdrawing their sugar back to their base because they put the sugar out to actually catch the sun. And then they pull it back to wait through the other days, the winter days. There are all these things going on that hint. And if you don't have a change of seasons where you live, it's hard to describe the way the earth starts to change, the subtlety of it. It's wonderful, and it's part of the benefits of being a yogi is you notice the little changes, right? So I was thinking about wanting to figure out, for a variety of reasons, I don't know where to be, a variety of reasons, about what if people, if we sit a lot, if a lot of you are sitters like me, right? Not all the time, everyone sits, but like, what if you could get your tailbone to levitate? Right? So it's in your body in the same place, but then you get this like sensation of lightness. And I've been thinking about that this last week, right? Because obviously there's a lot of, we could talk about this anatomically, we could talk about it like there's a lot of compression that happens when you're sitting. And then a lot of your, things follow it. Your shoulders slump and all these things start to happen. So like if you could get it not only where there's more space in our back, right, which is why we lean forward and do dog pose a little bit and we shift gravity and all these things in the beginning. But what if like if you and I, now let's switch words and think about it. What if your tailbone or the base of your spine, instead of something like ethereal, like levitate, let's like call it happy. What if your tailbone were happy? How would it be more buoyant? Like what sensation? And I can already see some of you starting to do it, right? You're starting to like make your tailbone change the color of its energy, right? So then this week I've been thinking about, because I think I saw a little kid do this week, my neighbor Bo, who actually takes my recycling down. I like watching Bo. He takes it down the hill and he brings it back up, and I pay him once a month, and he's like, Bo is really fun to watch go around. But he's just about at the age where he's gonna stop skipping. Right? You can tell, that age where all of a sudden skipping's not cool. He's a hockey player, and he's like, but he still kind of wants to skip along with his younger sister, but I can kind of see that he's about to stop skipping. And I was thinking, why do kids skip? Why is there skipping happening? Right? Like, and then I was thinking about it, and like, you kind of get that flying feeling, right? People, well, those of us on the call that ever skipped. I was not a big skipper as a kid, but I can get why as I watch now. Like there's a feeling of you're buoyant, your legs are doing some work, but there's that when you're in through the air, there's a feeling of lightness in your base of your spine that's actually, it's really hard to skip. Can you even, it seems counterintuitive. And Laura, I've been thinking about you and anyone that hasn't been a skipper in their life. I've been thinking about how to say this, but like this morning, but like, so the idea of dropping your chest while skipping and Michael, you'd be another one. The idea of dropping your chest while skipping, it wouldn't even work. Like, it'd be really hard to skip with your chest dropped, right? So a little kid is like getting that flying through the air, right? And and holding it up, getting it from the legs, holding it up, having it travel up, carrying it forward with the lift in their chest, and then landing back down, right? So although you can't really accuse a kid of knowing all this consciously, they know it intuitively. And what happens as we get older? Why do we stop skipping? Like, what a weird, dumb thing. Like, why do we stop getting on the floor? Well, it's too hard and it looks goofy and self-consciousness changes it. So I was thinking about, how might I skip in my wheelchair? This is part of one of the thoughts of this class building, right? Right. So Laura and whoever hasn't really been a skipper, I don't know, Mary, I don't know if you've been a skipper since when you were young, like any of that. But so have you ever had those movements? So I was thinking about it in terms of Laura. See, this is always the challenge of teaching an adapted class, is how do you translate sensations? And so think of first, maybe on your own, people that have never skipped. And I can barely remember skipping. So it's more that I can watch the joy on a kid now skipping, right? And it's not like I can actually remember the movements of skipping, right? Like, I can't quite remember what it is to go up and down stairs right now. There are things I'm forgetting, that are strange, like walking up and down stairs, like, huh, right? So, but have you ever had those movements where like, Laura, I'm thinking about you, like, where you don't expect it, but a transfer is suddenly super easy? Like, all of a sudden you do one, and just kind of, you hit everything just right. It's like hitting a golf ball on the screws, right? Or getting a baseball right in the sweet spot. Or all of a sudden it just like doesn't even make sense, right? You also go like, whoa, what the hell just happened? So a little kid, and whatever that sensation is, transfer, maybe it wasn't transferred for you or whomever, but like, whatever the sensation is of suddenly and almost flying in the middle of what is already a weighted experience, right? Like, all of a sudden you go, whoa, that just worked way better. Or you push on something and it moves way too easy. Like, you're like, wow, did I get that just right? Did my chi and its chi just kind of line up, and it didn't take nearly as much force? Well, a little kid is trying to figure out how to have that sensation when they're skipping, when they're doing all different types of things, right? So I've been thinking in this class, and this week, I've been trying to figure out, I'm trying to reconnect in a different way to my legs for a good long time, right? And trying to figure out different ways to create a sensation of lightness, but have it include rhythm, as opposed to meditation energy or shavasana energy. Because although shavasana can soar and expand, it doesn't soar. It can expand and touch everything. It doesn't soar like a little kid skipping. So this is a lot of words. Michael, when it's not so, when, like, if we'd all been in person, we'd take our arms wide, we'd have other people hold on somebody's arms, or if you were sitting in a wheelchair and someone comes up and pushes on your knees and you get the rise, right? Or you get unexpected support. Those are all sensations that are somewhat similar to what a little kid is trying to get. So Michael, when when you're able to get support more in your bones because your muscles are already so tight and happening hard, right? But the idea of when you get so like the couple times Michael and I have been in class for a good long time, and I try to like hold his muscles to the bone and try to like his if you don't know, Michael's got CP, and so his muscles fire the ones that fire really hard and hot, right? And so sometimes I try to squeeze his muscle towards the bone, and then I know he'd feel relief. And in that relief, Michael, when you get relief like that, what would it be like to leap, right? Because the airborne is part of the lightness that a kid's trying to get when they're skipping. So that's the best I can do for words, right? All right, so start to feel more rather than less. So it's funny because the idea of skipping is kind of the soaring part. But one of the paradoxes of getting lighter is you have to get this other quality of energy in there too. So, okay, we'll do this in a second. Let's just center first because can you tell I've been working on this class for a while? The words are hard, right? So if you balance your head over your neck, you feel that relief, then make it gently soar by lifting your chest. So you take the spaciousness of space and you vary with some fun, not just seriousness, make something travel up through it, right? So as you do that, I hope you know to feel your sitting bones in your feet and soften the inside of your mouth, but don't let the dropping part of Shavasana overwhelm the rising part of Shavasana, right? The rise actually already happens, right? When you lift your chest, you're just trying to be congruent with it, right? So I've always said you're rising and falling in every moment of every day, right? There's an existential rise and fall that you're trying to become congruent with. So when you feel your feet and your sitting bones and you balance your head over your neck and you gently lift your chest, you're trying to balance in space. So the space holds you up, not just your effort. In that space, a hum starts to happen. It doesn't start, it actually becomes you become aware of a sound in the room you didn't know was there, but it's not really a sound. It's like one hand clapping. Keep your bones sturdy. Let your skin expand and smile into the room. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. Take your sternum up toward your chin down over your sternum. Breath into each nostril, into each lung, each sitting bone, each foot. Good. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. All right. So it, if you really start to notice your own behavior, I can't figure out where to be here. If you really try to figure out your own behavior or what it is, like we all have places in our movements where our brain is trying to skip, right? So Michael, I'm sorry to point it out on you again. What's great about Michael is that you can see it in Michael. It's one of the things that's kind of amazing about and difficult, in my opinion, about living with cerebral palsy is that your nervous system is slightly more exposed, and so you're more sensitive. News flash to Mary, right? And that's part of why that's also emotional, can be emotional too, right? But you're more exposed. It's not just emotional, right? Michael, what I see in your, and I could be making this shit up again, right? But as I watch him as as his guide in yoga, right? I think when Michael is processing and wanting to skip, he takes his head up and goes back. And by the way, I think you're in really good company because I started to notice this, Michael, when I'd noticed and I've watched video of both Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. You see blind people do this a lot too. They're not as caught up in their eyesight. They actually expose the underneath part as a way of flying. So what I challenge you to do is in your own life and in your day, try to start noticing the place where your brain is intuitively and unconsciously trying to get you the nourishment of flying, of skipping. It's happening all day long. Your brain hungers for it, not your mind. Your mind's not aware of it. Your brain and your body is way smarter than your mind when it comes to what the body is seeking, right? Weird story, weird, hard stuff. We better move around a little bit because these words are going to get worse, right? So, we talk about creating the sensation of space. We start every class with making traction a little bit in our back, right? Letting there be like gravity pulling it down and making space while the chest rises. If you were to try to just lift with a drop chest, you'd make your arm muscles work way more. So when I hunch forward and try to lift, my arms, my shoulders have to do way more work. When I actually come forward and raise my chest and lift, right? I'm actually lighter in terms of my experience, right? I'm flying. I'm skipping, right? Because there's ways to have this energy. Keep it in the back of your head that I'm trying to see if our tailbones can levitate, right? Because little kids skip to actually levitate and fly through space with their spine, right? And even take your legs wide. Have you ever noticed that usually when people are skipping, they're kind of laughing and giggling? They're usually not yelling at each other while they're skipping, right? They're usually not pissed off. You don't skip when you're pissed off, not usually, right? So again, I'm going back and forth. And what am I doing? I'm actually pushing down. So all these things we do all the time, right? I got to move my camera and keep moving how you need to move, however you decide to do it, right? But like, we're constantly doing things in a yoga practice to get the sensation of flying, right? So I got my legs wide and I'm lean, I'm grounding down, I'm rising up to fly, but my flying, if I just lift my chest, I'm not flying as much. If I go down and rise up, if I push down on my leg and on my wheel and I rise up, I'm more of a flyer than if I just do this, right? Because I'm making spaces and having the jump travel through my whole body, right? Without the down, up means nothing, or not nearly as much. It's not as useful. So that was just me trying to open my groins a little bit, right? And then I'm going to lift up a little bit and just do this again and get this space. So usually when we do dog pose, we're making space in our back. So do some version of dog pose. You make space in your back, but you're trying to add strength to it too. So my hands are on the table here, right? And I'm hitting down with here comes my will, right? I'm hitting down with my sitting bones. I'm lifting my chest. I'm spreading my palms and I'm extending from my palms up through my fingertips. And as I do, I bring my shoulder blades in together a little bit and I roll the inner upper thigh in and down and I extend from the inner knee to the inner groin to the inner knee and down through the feet. And here's my will. But don't forget the flying part. Don't forget the lift. Have it all. Be a yogi. Breathe. Good. And then release. You're creating, your will is now trying to enter the pose. And what's really good about being able to do the traditional pose, which I've never been able to do, right, is that your flying has to go from your tailbone to the sky in dog pose, right? It actually goes so you're inverted. You're upside down, but you're still trying to reach to the heavens with your tailbone, right? So we're not going to be able to do that, or I'm not going to be able to do this right now. So I'm going to go in and up with my right hand, and I'm going to go skyward, but I'm going to know from the bent arm, as I straighten, I need to go down through my sitting bones. So I'm going to coordinate and then down. And again, I'm going to shoot like a sprout skyward, but the earth has to catch my roots down, right? So even here, I'm jumping as I'm going down. What we're learning here, among a ton of other things, is why Tadasana is in every pose, right? Now I'm going to sit and ground for a second, because right now, as I'm seeing connections as I'm teaching, my mind is getting blown. Okay, I don't know about yours, but I'm here getting affected by my own teaching. Inhale up, because I'm practicing it. I'm turning now, and now I'm adding a twist to what is a universal part of the asana. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. and I'm going to twist a little bit. So now I've got another energy happening here. What the hell? I'm going down, I'm going up. I'm flying because I'm lifting my chest and broadening across the collarbones, but now I'm dynamically twisting another energy into the pose, into my manifestation. Good. And then release. And I'm thinking, damn, I like how my spine makes me feel when my spine enters the pose. Good. And then come on up. Right? Remember, I'm shooting skyward like a sprout. I'm heading down. Right? I'm actually doing all that here. It starts to change. I already dropped right there. So I lost connection to the rise. So I'm going to reassert it, lift my chest. And do it on the inhalation. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, revolve. But now I'm going to take, and on this rib especially, I'm pushing it on this rib because I want to not lose connection to my left hip. So this is my right rib cage. I got to have the ground here. Otherwise, my lift is like losing its true energy. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Right? So I'm flying, I'm falling, I'm rising, and I'm twisting. Holy cow. There's a lot going on here. Good, and then come on back together. Can you believe how fast your mind tends to judge yoga poses? Like there's not a big deal. Oh, I can just twist. It happens all the time. Dumbass mind. Like, holy cow. It was missing so much of what was going on, right? So much of what's going on. That's why you practice. Come forward. I'm come forward on my elbows, right? Because I want to get grounded and I want my back lengthened. And for a second, because my mind's getting blown, I'm going to put my hands in prayer if I can, because I'm going to kind of pause here and go, let me hear what's happening. I'm actually going to ask the universe to help me receive, right? Because I can tell something's happening when trying to fly in this last couple of weeks for me, and this last week thinking about you all. Something's like, I'm seeing something. My practice is building into something. I don't know about yours, but I think you should start having more confidence in your practice and what it's teaching you. Right? So take a moment and go, okay, I'm going to try to be the best student I can. And it's not just what Matt's teaching, what Matt is saying, it's what I'm feeling. That's what's teaching you. It's whether you can hear it. Good, and then release. Another installment of the quilt that is this class about flying the tailbone or levitating the tailbone, like kids skipping, right? So we can feel more light when we have to sit all the time. All these freaking things go in. The quilt is always big and full, right? Have you ever heard that, like, hatha translates as sun and moon, and maybe the idea of it is yoking the sun and the moon together, right? And I've always thought about what the hell does that even mean? I don't know exactly, except, you know, and you can do whatever exploring into those, what words, those connotations those words have to you, and try to actually never think you're done understanding what that is, because you're not. Right. But here's a couple of things. Like, to me, one thing is like the moon comes out at night and the sun's more sunrise, you know, more whatever. And I've been trying to feel that in writing so much, I'm trying to feel the empty space in the experience so I can find the words, so my mind can feed and grind off the empty space, right? To create the words. But there's a price to be paid for that when you're looking for words, right? When you're using words that way. So on the other day, it was a really humid day here, and I held up my hand. So everyone hold up your hand. And I remember, like, and it's really warm, and I can still remember, but I can do it here now without it being so warm, right? And I was thinking, I want to touch the empty space around my hand. So I'm going to open my palm. So it doesn't mean your fingers have to be open, but like I'm going to try to extend my palm. And so when I do that, but if I overdo it, I can't hear the universe anymore. right? But when I do it just right, when I come into balance with the action, something I can start to feel through the tautness of my palm, right? I can start to feel, right? But have you noticed it's much easier to see the front side of the space in front of your palm than be open to the back side on the back side of your hand? Notice the back side's harder to see, harder to receive. I can control the front side, right? I have to receive the back side. Sun, moon, right? Back side of the palm, moon. I don't get to see it. Don't get to see it at night. It's not as kind of nourishing to my mind. The mind has to trust more to receive the moon, whatever the yogis meant by those words, and then the front. And I got to balance both. So when you start to open your palm or your hand, whatever it is, and open to both sides of it, as you know, subtle body awareness takes more back body awareness. I've been teaching that for years, right? So sit up straight and tall again. Think of what I teach almost every time in centering, open to the front of you and receive what's behind you. Those are words you've heard. When I lift my chest, I reach for the sun. That's the kid knowing to skip, right? That's what we do when we use our will. We go towards the sun, right? We think there's control on the palm side of the hand. But as you age and your legs get not as strong, you have to start to learn how to feel the back side of your pose too. It's going to help you with stress, right? So now here's your palm, front and back, sun and moon, right? But now feel your front and back of your body. Balance your head over your neck. So you're starting, I'm going to call Shavasana typically closer to what the yogis might have been trying to point to when they said moon, right? It's not fiery, but my yoga pose has to have both. It needs the front part of the hand and the back side of the hand. It needs the front body and the back body. And in that context, I need to lift my chest. Not just throw it away. Breathe. All this to levitate the spine? Are you kidding me? Where's the rhythm part? Here it comes, right? So as I'm thinking about you this last week, I'm thinking, so like as you lift, go one knee forward, one knee back. We've done this before. So can't remember who was talking to me about this. Gosh, someone last week was talking about Running Man. That people know what that is in our class. So I'm doing one knee and one shoulder forward and one knee back, right? Right. So I'm going forward one and lifting up and doing all this thing to leap and skip, right? And I'm going back and forth. And by the way, I do one side better than the other. Damn it. Means I got to work on this way, right? Right. So I'm trying to make sure I don't sink into my seat. So because I don't want the sinking feeling to collapse my center of my chest. So I'm lifting up a little bit to get that leaping feeling, right? So then I was thinking, okay, so here's what we're going to try to do Running Man to ourselves, right? And so Running Man is like, one knee forward, but I want you to break it apart. So here's another insight from BK Sangha, all right? When my body's in pieces, my body's one, my mind shatters into pieces. When my body's in pieces, my mind can be one. So asana helps the mind practice having the body in its parts and not as a big lump. And when you can see the body and sensations like the sun and the moon or different things, you can see it in parts, your mind's going to become more whole. Because remember, the mind is the last to figure out all that's going on, right? All right, so I'm going to sit, and we've been doing this, like pushing away to do back bending for a while, right? So just try that for a second. Do it both at once. Put your hands on your thighs, push them away, and go back and up over your chair. So you're going to, when you push down, given our metaphor setup, you're going towards the moon and the earth, right? When you lift your chest, you're going towards the sun, right? Good, and then release. Now, last week, I think I was teaching back bends. I think I was, but I was having you anchor here and lengthen from the chest and the back bend up to the chin, which is the sun part, right? But it actually shows you where the moon is. But so you do this, and so I want you to anchor here, lengthen the skin on the front. Remember, the skin's going to be outward facing, so you're already going outward. So by being aware of the skin, you lengthen this part and then come on back. So we're not doing full back bends, right? But the real challenge is that as you lengthen from here to here in your back bend, right? I want you to lengthen the back of your neck too. So keep it long. You can't lengthen it the same way as you can the front, but you can keep it long as you're doing it, right? So now I'm going to push on my thighs. I'm going to anchor here. But as I start to get the joy of this part, I don't want to forget the moon on the backside, right? And all I can do is keep it long so it receives, so I don't compress it. I can't do the same level of awareness that I can on the front side, on the back side. My instruction has to be to not forget. Good, and then come back. Quick little twist, right? Just quick. So it's easier to do the front. It's harder. I can't do as much on the back. It's easier to control the front side of the palm. It's harder to receive the back side of the palm, the back side of the hand. And once I do both, once I start to go, I feel where I can control better and I can integrate what I can't control. I hope you can see that that's a better yoga pose. It gives me the freedom to lift my chest fully. Breathe. There's a lot going on in this class, by the way. Don't try to follow the words, Pat. Follow the sensations. Okay? All right. So now, why am I doing all this? Well, we're going to break something apart. Here comes the rhythm part. All this to what? Levitate the tailbone? What the hell are you talking about, Willis? Right? Okay, so I'm going to start doing some rhythm here. So I'm going to go back and forth here on my legs. So I'm going forward on my right, right? And then forward on my left. And then there's a natural recoil after you stop going forward, right? Now I'm going to be more intentional about the forward on my right. And then back. And then the forward on my left. So I'm going to start to walk, right? So people that have never walked, there's a well, Laura, you've actually walked. And so has Michael, right? So there's a back and forth of stepping one foot after another. So trying to get a rhythm like that, right? Right? In this action. So, and then come back to center. So now we're going to make it with less words. So now start to just feel the rhythm of it. One side, then the other, right? Back and forth. Right? And you're getting your pelvis. Okay. So now this time, you're going to put your hands more on your knees. So my fingers, or part of my hands on the front side of my knee, part of it's on the top of my knee, right? And I'm going to push the right one forward. But this time, then I release. I'm going to emphasize more pulling the left one back while I push the right one forward. And then do it the other way. Pushing the left one forward, but being more aware of the hitting back on the other one, right? And then switching it. So I'm being much more aware this time. Instead of the push away, I'm being more aware of the pull back. So I'm going back and forth, rotating, but I'm emphasizing the pull back while the other one's pushing forward, right? So my mind's trying to stay focused on the pulling back, not so much on the pushing forward. Again, one's the moon, one's the sun. Okay, back and forth. Now, sit, don't touch, feel the memory of this, of the injection of movement that's coming into your pelvis. Now do the more emphasizing the push away, right? But feel the pull back, but just emphasize one more than the other. Right? That one's more fun, right? Takes less focus. I like the push away. It's easier for my sun's always easier to feel than the moon. Right? Good. And then release. So now you're going to do both. You're going to feel the forward, feel the back, and try to do them at the same time. Okay? So really try to equally feel the, I'm going to push forward on my right. I'm going to pull back on my left. I'm going to switch. Now, I'm going to make sure my spine is part of both movements, right? I'm going back and forth. And I'm noticing both. And I'm trying to get them to both with rhythm come into my spine. What? And then sit again. So now you know what's coming. It's not just because I want to like shake myself clear again. I'm going to get space back in here. You know, like I'm making a sauce, a soup. And the soup's got to be sensual too, right? It's got to be felt. Okay, here I go. I'm going to go right to it then. Back, forth. Remember, I was talking about singularity, clapping with your whole body. Make this whole movement go into your whole body, right? Right? Your spine is trying to get it on both ways, and being aware of both. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go back and forth with my shoulders. Some of you are already doing this, right? Because you control your shoulders more than you control your legs, right? Yeah. And then sit. So now I hope you started to get in the rhythm of it a little bit of the skipping of it, the skip I was talking about, right? And then sit for a second. So what are the things that, by splitting apart the push away and the pull, by realizing the front and the back, right? In that context, the tailbone can levitate. It's not confined in the same way. So sit for a second. I'm leaning forward a little bit, so I'm keeping my forearms on my own legs. I'm making sure I'm grounding. But instead of just passing over my very low back, I'm going to ground my thighs down and let my sitting bones go down with my forearms, but I'm going to gently lift or follow a rising tailbone. Now I'm going to breathe. Good. Now I'm going to stick hands one hand at a time, because I can't do two, I'll fall over. I'm taking the back of my hand or some sort of lift, if possible, underneath my right sitting bone. And I can't quite touch my tailbone and stay balanced, but I'm going to put the back of my fingers up into my sitting bone, and I'm going to catch it. So I'm surging up, catching it with my chest. Coming forward, pushing up from my root. Right? And I'm going to try to do the other side, but my broken wrist here, my wrist, the way it's broken on this one, doesn't do this side as well. So I got to practice more here. So I'm going to try to push in on my own sitting bone. So I'm not just lifting my chest. I'm trying to start it from lower down, getting an action that includes, and some of you can do it without having to do this with your hand, but I'm paralyzed, right? So I'm pushing up with the back of my hand. I'm going like this. I'm pushing the back of my hand up into my sitting bone and catching it and bringing it towards the sun, towards the sky, right? And then release, and then the other side. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try to, like, from the moon or the earth side, the deep side, I'm going to push up on my own sitting bone. I'm going to try to catch it with my spine. That's what a little kid does. They don't drop their chest bone, they skip. They actually lift their chest. They fly, right? And then release, and then do it back to the other side. Right? So I'm doing it here, right? So I know for those of you like, Mary, Laura, and Michael, at least, walking's never had a sensation of ease and flying. Right? Except it's been there, way deep and buried. Just never showed on the outside. Good, and then release. And so now, with that feeling of leap, right? I'm going to go back to the one leg forward, one leg back. And I'm going to see, makes me smile when I try, right? I'm going to try to bring the leap of my tailbone, of my sitting bone, up through the movement back and forth of my legs. I don't know if is anyone starting to get really deep heat here? But this is like kind of hard, right? All right. So now I want you to lean forward and jump up. I've tried to teach this before. never in this detail. I used to say, let your tailbone jump like a Mexican jumping, right? So there's a little thing in there in the bean, a little parasite, I guess, and it jumps. So I want you to come forward, and so I'm creating the foundation with my hands, right? And then I'm leaping up, right? So, but I'm leaping with this whole class. I'm going slow because in order to integrate the whole class, I don't get to quick leap like a kid skipping. I have to be, I'm old, I have to go slow. All of a sudden I'm getting better here at this. Wait. I go back and forth a few times. Right? Right? Wait. To neutral. I go back through some poses I know really well, so I can see if I can bring it along. Then I come forward and downward facing dog. And I practice some leaps from my tailbone through my chest to my mouth. But I gotta, because I'm grounded, I can go slow here. I can use rhythm. Don't need to leap like a kid. I'm not a kid. I can leap in slow motion. I'm like doing it real slow here. Oh, I might be having some success. It's making me want to smile. Right? Wait, okay. I can tell I want to remember my legs now. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to pull in on one. Not just do the leap. I'm going to emphasize the pull, the one lean forward, one knee back, but I'm going to ground it and pay more attention to the one knee back because I can tell the leap pulls me away from the earth, right? It's not just the leap off the earth that does the happiness. It's the pushing off the earth to do it. So now I'm going to remind myself again and come forward. I'm going to fully exhale. And I'm going to leap one knee forward. And then back, because it has to land back on the earth when you're skipping. And then leap the other knee forward from my tailbone. And go back and forth. Wait. I'm going to try to bring my best dancer to this knee movement, leaping from my tailbone. I'm going to let my body feel it all. Then I'm going to come back to center and I'm going to ground. I don't know. I feel both happy and a flutter, and I'm getting flushed, which means I know that my subtle body and my autonomic nervous system was just really working. Even my mouth's a little dry. So I'm going to pause here And I'm going to be grateful. Take a couple of breaths. All this was here the whole time, not just in my, whether I could skip, but the front and back of my hand, the front and back of my body. Using awareness of energy to make self-realization felt and not just mental. Breathe. Let this next inhalation from grounded sitting bones and grounding go out in every direction, and then return back to the earth. And again, long, slower inhalation. Both with and without the skip. Third one. Good. And then release. Practice some quick symmetry for Shavasana. Feet, sitting bones. Each side of the breastbone. Release enough to let each side of your neck touch the front outside by keeping it in the moon at the center. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. We're preparing to receive the support of your chair. Then, on an exhale, into your chair. On the next inhale, let the chair come, the support of it come right up through your inhale. And then exhale back into your chair. There's a leap and a landing on every breath cycle, like skipping. Yep. And then just let go. Let the support in whatever way you're getting come into you. Let there be a home. There is a home. Let it nourish. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body. Think it again. When you're ready, open your eyes. Close them if you want to. Choose your pace. Eventually, you got to open your eyes. So, the to paraphrase the line that opens waking, the quote, hope is the dream of a waking person. But I can tell you, hope is burdensome unless you're also skipping on the inside, right? That there's a simultaneous lightness. Don't let your hope, don't make your hope create the lightness or force it to create the lightness. Skipping's got to be part of the hope, right? We wait for hope to transform us, right? Don't think so, right? I love the idea that we could dream while we're awake and that hope might be that dream, right? I like it. Aristotle wasn't a dummy, right? Kind of was, but mostly way smarter than all of us. All right, hands together. Namaste. The spirit in me bows the spirit in you.